of Terran. But we'll see what he's going to do in this game, and the countdown has started.
The countdown has started indeed. The map is going to be Daybreak, a very, very familiar map for those who have followed StarCraft scene for a long time. In the top, right, we do have Mythology's Viper, the red Protoss. And opposing him in the bottom left, it is the Blue Zerg. MSI from LowLandLions, Yona.
Alright. So Daybreak, of course, as a map, has been a staple of competitive StarCraft 2 for so long. It's been in so many tournaments, so many times. Every player here knows it by heart. It's been here since Winds of Liberty. It's been played in so many BattleNets championships. It's been played in so many tournaments. Players here will know their timings. They will know what builds they can do and what they can and cannot get away with. We saw a nice, if we look at Jonas' mineral count, we saw he had actually quite a few drones before that Overlord popped out, because he did a nice drone extractor trick, giving a bit more drones before his Overlord popped out, just to give him that small advantage. We will probably see here from Yona going for a standard 14 pool, and of course then the 15 hatch, just to be safe against any potential cannon rushes from the Protoss. But look what we have here in the middle of Viper's base. It's a gateway.
It is a gateway indeed, and lately, you know, with Heart of the Swarm, gateway expansions have been a lot more popular because they allow you to be aggressive a little bit quicker. They allow for that mothership for quicker upgrades, quick attack, and force the Zerg to play a little bit more careful, maybe take a third base later or drone less, make a little bit more units. So, you know, the thing is, we can see that Yona, he's not scouting with his drone, only with his Overlords, so he has to know his build inside and out, because by the time that Overlord gets there, it is going to be too late for him to know if this is a Forge expand or a Gateway expand. Given the current metagame, though, yes, I think he pretty much suspects that it's going to be a Gateway. Cybernetic score going down in the main Protoss space. And, well, the Zerg, for now, is just going to gather information, drone up a little bit, and get those queens rolling so he can get those injects onto those hatcheries.
Yeah, you're quite right about that Overlord here scouting. We see he's now moving it into position, and this has to be really worrying here for Yona, because he sees there's still no Nexus. And you would expect Protoss to Forge fast expand on this map, but like we mentioned, it is going to be, of course, the Gateway expand, or maybe even a one-base play, we can't say for sure. Though if we now look at the probe here moving down, he's going to throw down a Nexus. So this is, of course, going to be the Gateway expand, and this will most likely be followed up by some heavy aggression, which will be mostly Gateway based. You know, Zealots, Stalker, Sentry from Viper.
What is interesting, and what I want to keep an eye out, kind of, is will he get a Zealot out? Will he get a second gas?
Ooh, he gets the pylon off on the third. That's really good.
Nice job there. That pylon will not live long, though, because it has one drone and two Zerglings on it, so you know, he'll be wise to cancel it as it is getting close to being killed. Let's see if he has the presence of might. It is selected, and perfect cancel there, nice right cancel there from the Protoss player. So, you know, every second counts. Every second you can delay that third from coming up is a bonus to you as a Protoss player, limiting the Zerg econ for the later stages of the game. Meanwhile, we do see that the second gas has gone down, Warp Gate tech is on the way, and we have a Stalker being produced, no Zealot out. So yeah, while we do have the Mothership core, without a Zealot, you can't really pressure all that much, because that Stalker is too valuable to let it get potentially surrounded or killed.
Link's going to now run into the main. This one is going to get a great scout up, going to give a lot of information here to Yona. He will see that there is one gas being mined. He doesn't see this, well, of course he sees the second gas, because there's also an Overlord now flying into the main of Viper, which is now going to be taken out by this Stalker. And it still leaves, you know, Yona a bit blind as to what his opponent is doing. He sees there's Gateway tech. He knows that, you know, of course there's going to be a lot of Warp Gate on the way, and he flies in the second Overlord at the perfect timing in the natural of his opponent, and sees 3 gates coming up. So this will very likely be some heavy 4-gate pressure coming from the Protoss his way quite soon, which main target will be to deny that third expansion here from Yona, which he did take quite early. And of course, in response, Yona has thrown up a Roach Warren, and he's going to have to use Roaches and Lynx to defend here.
Well, he pretty much needs those Roaches like a bread needs its salt, because the speed will not be done, the speed for the Lynx will not be done by the time this attack hits, which will happen very, very soon here. There are no proxy pylons though, so it will take some time for the Protoss forces to get over there, and he will have to just rely on slow Lynx off creep with Roaches who are tanky and beefy to take down the forces. Probe has not been found yet, so a second proxy pylon is being built below the first one. The first one may have to get cancelled. No, it goes up. The Stalkers secure that location, and look at this, 5 Roaches in production. Speed is almost finished. This is all about getting that speed finished and not incurring any losses. The Zerg is buying a little bit time here so that he can defend properly.
Interesting move here from Viper to warp in Stalkers as he sees that his opponent for now has mostly Lynx. However, the Link count is now very low and they still do not have speed, so they will be taken out by these Stalkers quite easily. Another proxy pylon being thrown up here at the third, and there's actually no wall in here at the natural. So we have a big run by here, warping quickly responded here by Viper, and these Lynx have to move on into the main to see if they can do any additional damage though. However, Viper has made his decision. He's going to head straight towards the third with the Mothership Core, with the Stalkers, to try to do as much damage as possible.
He's going to try to do as much damage as possible. Indeed, meanwhile, he has to fend off the Lynx in his main base. The attack at the third is going quite well so far. Not enough units to defend here. Queen is down as well, and actually almost down. More reinforcements coming in. 14 Lynx. I have to say that Viper, it was a good attack, but he has to be careful not to overstay his welcome, and he is very wisely pulling back at the moment, as back in his base, Robotic Bay just now finished, and he's moving into Colossus production straight up. He does not want this to go into the late game. He wants to hit possibly with a very good Colossus timing here with the Gateway forces while keeping up the pressure. All he has to be worried about now, though, is the counterattack from Yona, which he, quite frankly, seems to be staging. Look at the numbers of units he's got out on the map, and he's taking more gases and droning behind this, setting up for a good position later on.
Well, he is droning behind this, of course, so he might go for a fourth base rather than attack straight up. But I really like this decision here by Viper. You know, he had to defend with warp in, so he couldn't warp him at the front. So he had to warp in those defensive cells to protect against the run-by. And rather than continue to suicide his units into his opponent's Ling Roach army, which simply would not have worked, he decides to tech up. He was already making his robot quite early on in the game, I have to say. And getting Colossus with range out is going to be so good at fighting against this Ling Roach based army. And Yona's gonna poke her and see if he can do anything. He sees there's no third.
The Lings are trying to skirt around the edges of the base, trying to find out what the army composition is. I don't think they saw the Colossus yet. No, I don't think they did. No. One gripe I have with this defense is, and I don't know if Yona actually noticed this, there is 0 sentries there, or was just a second ago. Now 3 are there, but that's freshly warped in. That means only 3 force fields. With a Colossus-based army, you need those force fields to manage the space, to control the opponent's army and what he's capable of doing. Without that, the Colossi are really vulnerable. So unless he warps in more sentries, which he's very wisely doing, the moment he moves out, the Zerg is going to pick him apart, and it seems like we have a missed rally point here with the drones. Hello, drones!
Yeah.
What are you doing here checking out the rocks?
Oh well. Anyway, you're really right about the whole space control issue. Yeah, these drones are kind of forfeit. It's a small mistake here from Yona, but we now see that Viper... What?
Whoa!
Okay, I'm not sure what that was up with, but he spotted the Colossus, and maybe this was some sort of Zerg panic reaction. It's nothing I've ever seen before. But anyway, we now have this Colossus timing here for Viper, which I think is going to be very effective, because in terms of tech, what does Yona have? He's got Lynx, he's got Roaches. Does he have Roach speed? I don't think they're very fast.
He doesn't have Roach speed. Roach speed was just now started. Hydrogen is finished, but why make Hydras when you have a Colossus? Let's see how this engagement goes. If he can hold out for long enough for the force fields to dissipate, he might, if he doesn't lose very many units, defend this. Nice spreading from Yona there, but Viper is pushing in. His army is surrounded, though.
Force fields. Excellently here, blocking in these Lynx and Roaches. However, he has run out of force fields, and he's getting flanked heavily here by this Ling Roach army now, and he recalls out before he can take any additional losses.
Beautiful defense by Yona there, excellently done, forcing the Protoss back. We have a drop potential here with the Warp Prism, but you know, the problem for the Protoss is right now, Yona is going to get a Spire, he's going to get his upgrades start rolling, and what does Protoss have, or more importantly doesn't have, is a third base. So he's stuck on Colossus Gateway Army, which is not that good once Corruptors are out en masse, or possibly what Yona could be going for is also a huge Muta switch later on, and that would be really difficult for Viper to deal with.
There weren't a lot of reinforcements behind that whole attack. We see Viper is floating quite a bit of money as well, which is kind of surprising me. So he's going to throw down a third base here, just to, to be able to try and catch up with his opponent. Of course, Yona hasn't decided to take a fourth bit yet, and he's kind of stuck on Ling Roach tech. So in terms of actual tech and economy disadvantage, it's not that bad here for Viper. But it's a worrisome situation. He's adding on more Colossi, while the Spire is about to finish, as well as more Hydras in production. So I do fear that we will see Corruptors on the field very, very soon, which are of course quite adept at dealing with the heavy Colossus count.
Well, that is an interesting thing here, the double Stargates that suddenly Viper decided to build. Maybe he is expecting such a play, something like that, so maybe he wants to get Phoenixes out or a couple of War Prism just preemptively. Oh, he did?
He cancelled the Stargates, and he's now building a Templar Archives.
Oh, wow.
And he's getting Blink, so he's mid-game is completely switched up.
That is not a good decision.
Well, it's hard to count because now we see exclusive Corruptor production here from Yona, which are actually now taking out this War Prism, so Viper will know what he's up against. I see him shaking his head here next to me, actually, if you could see that. But he sees that the Corruptors are out now, and now he has to do something. The only really little shot he had, of course, was making heavy Void Ray production. He's using a Lucid Void Ray to scout and sort of divert attention from the War Prism, which does manage to stay alive. But he's in a pickle.
Even so, right now, basically the only place the Zerg can engage the Protoss at this point in time is out in the open if he's not maintaining a defensive stance, a defensive position at his third, because at his third, or at his natural, he can control space with sentries.
Army moving up the ramp, but there's no Corruptors in sight. They're still lagging behind a bit. If Viper had gone a couple of force fields up there, it would have been really good for him. But now the Corruptors have joined the Hydra Roach army, and there's a great concave setup here. Boros army now moving in, but the Corruptors are now focusing down all of the Colossi, and they're falling very quickly one by one. Force fields are good though, but the sentries are also falling very quickly to the Roach Hydra Queen count here.
Oh, even Queens joining in on the fight. Still a lot of Corruptors remaining in the air. They are going to kill this one Colossus as it falls. The Stalkers have no protection of the force fields, no Zealots, no Immortals. They have to pull back. Huge warping of Zealots coming in right now, trying to stave off the Roaches, but I do not think is going to be quite enough. And if so, it is going to be just barely. There's just not enough Hydras with the Roaches here, but they are still pushing through. Eventually they are going to fall, but the Zerg already achieved what he wanted to. He basically killed all the expensive units, and as some of the other casters say, whenever a Protoss is forced to make just Stalkers in PvZ, it's not a good sign.
Look at the reinforcements streaming in here from Yona. He had 25 Roaches in production at the same time. Now moving forward, ready to hug these Stalkers into the fierce hug of death. More Stalkers being warped in. And of course they are quite even in terms of upgrades, and they're blinking back, making them very cost efficient. Photon overcharge on the third Nexus, and the Corruptors are slowly pulling back, and it looks like that Viper is just barely gonna hold to his third base.
Yeah, he is going to hold that. The important thing is he did not lose almost any probes there. I mean, if you look at the Harvester count, it's still very good for the Protoss. 61 probes to 64 drones. I mean, come on, that's a good situation. Well, right now, time is the issue. If Yona allows Viper to get his Death Bowl up again, to reproduce all those expensive gas units, then there's gonna be hell to pay. Good thing he's getting +2 attacks for his ranged units, and I don't know, with Storm out, Colossi, Hydralisks are really not an option. He still has those Corruptors in the air. He's getting a Hive. What are your thoughts? What do you think he should be going for at this point?
Well, one thing I really want to note is that Yona has only just saturated his fourth base. they were basically equal in terms of economy for quite a while there. And if you check the mineral count on the minerals, you'll see that not a lot has been mined from those. And now it seems that Viper oh, big move in there actually from Yona, going to pick up more Colossi. But we do see that Viper here
not the best position for the Protoss here. Not very many force flows. He's going to have to rely on Storm storming the Corruptors. Big Storm going down there. But the Colossus is down. And you know, he's only going to have so much storms. He's going to run out at some point.
Yeah, the good thing that Yona is doing here is that he is kiting this army back and forth, using the range advantage of his Roaches and Hydras. And once again, a big storm goes down, but doesn't take out all that much in total. Now we finally have the engagement here going in. Archon's being warped in by Viper. Stalker's blinking back, but there's just too much Zerg.
Yona is pushing him back, man. I don't know if he can hold the second time around here. I don't think he has quite enough units to do so. Also, the +2 range attack on those Hydras is doing a lot. And there's a lot more Hydras around this time than before in the first attack. So you can only blink back so much of those Stalkers, but the army is going to keep chasing you. The Stalkers can't defend the third base any longer. Abandoned ship calls the captain. The third Nexus probably is going to go down, and there it falls. And right now, the Zerg practically, if he wanted to, he can retreat, but I think Yona is smelling blood. He wants to go for the kill here right now.
Exactly. Link's being morphed in. He's gonna flood over the Stalker army here. Viper's army is battered and broken. It consists of only a couple of Stalkers and Sentries, and these Hydras and these Roaches, they are indeed out for blood. They are killing off all of the probes at the third base of Viper. They have Broodlords have now been morphed in here, right above the third base, and this is really going to be the final move here.
Yeah, I think it is. We even have Broodlords out on the field with the Greater Spire already finished in the meantime while all this was going on, and I think Yona knows that he's got this, and I think Viper knows that, you know, it's not gonna end well for him. He tries to go for a backstab onto those Broodlords blinking, but no, it's not gonna work. GG, well played. Game 1 goes to LowLand.